I've been sitting on these stories all week waiting to share them. Some are funny, some made me genuinely angry. One of them is just bizarre. Minecraft's going. Let's do it. First one, and this one is from TIFU. Today I messed up. Different format entirely. No judging, no verdict at the end, just someone sharing a mistake they made that I think most people will find pretty funny. So this person has lived next to the same neighbor for about 2 years. The neighbor has a parrot, a big one, the kind that lives decades and actually picks up language. And this parrot is loud. It sits near the window and makes sounds pretty much constantly throughout the day. Squawks, clicks, random phrases, weird noises that are almost but not quite words. It's just the ambient soundtrack of this person's apartment life. At some point, the poster started mocking the parrot back. Just quietly to themselves at first, mimicking a sound here, making a silly response there. It felt silly in a harmless, private way, like something you do when no one's watching. Then it escalated. It became a bit of a performance. They started narrating what the parrot was saying in a dramatic, mocking voice. Gave the parrot a fictional personality. Made up complaints the parrot was apparently lodging. Had full, one-sided arguments with it. Invented an ongoing storyline about what the parrot wanted and why it was upset about it. They were doing bits, basically, to a bird, through a wall. This went on for several weeks. Every morning, parrot starts up, poster does their thing. It had become such a routine that they didn't even really register doing it anymore. Then one day, the neighbor knocked on their door. The poster prepared for a noise complaint. Or maybe the neighbor was just being friendly. Neither. The neighbor said, very calmly, slightly apologetically, "I just wanted to give you a heads up. My parrot has started repeating some of the things you say to him." The parrot had been listening through the wall this entire time, and learning, and was now performing the poster's mocking sounds back at the neighbor, in what the neighbor described as a very convincing impression of the poster's voice, with absolutely no context for where it came from or what it meant. The poster apologized sincerely and at length. The neighbor was actually incredibly gracious about it, said the parrot picks up everything, always has, and that it would probably phase out over time. But the poster says they haven't been able to make eye contact with either the neighbor or the bird since. And now, every time they hear the parrot, they wonder what exactly it's saying about them in their own voice. No moral of the story, no judgment needed. Sometimes you decide to do weeks of comedy bits at your neighbor's bird, and the bird simply collects all of it and uses it against you. Okay, back to AITA for this next one. So this woman, married, her husband is in the military, bought plane tickets to attend his boot camp graduation. Not a casual or cheap thing to arrange. She bought the tickets months in advance, requested time off work well ahead of schedule, made all the travel arrangements herself. She was genuinely excited. It was a big deal. She wanted to be there in person to watch him graduate. Then, about a week before she was supposed to leave, her husband called her. He told her he didn't want her to come. His reasoning? The graduation ceremony is long. There's a lot of standing around and waiting, and logistically, it's just a lot of effort for something that isn't that exciting to watch. He said he would rather just meet her at home after it's done and celebrate there. He said he wasn't trying to be hurtful, he just genuinely didn't see the point. She was blindsided. She'd already taken the days off work. The tickets were bought. She'd been looking forward to this for months. She said it wasn't about the money or the logistics. It was about feeling like being there mattered, like witnessing it together mattered. She wanted that moment. He told her she was making this about herself, when this was supposed to be his moment. Was she wrong for wanting to come anyway? This one genuinely bothers me. She did everything right. She planned, she prepared, she was invested. The graduation isn't a surprise event. It's something that was scheduled. She wasn't crashing it. She was the person who specifically arranged her life around being there. It's long, and there's a lot of waiting, is not a reason to uninvite your wife from a milestone a week before she's supposed to fly out for it. The framing of, "you're making this about yourself," when she's trying to be there for him, is doing a lot of work to avoid something he's not saying. I'd want to know what that something is. Okay, this next one I relate to, even though I can see the other side. So this couple takes a big vacation once a year, one of the few real stretches of time they get together. They've been planning this particular trip for months, genuinely excited about it. The husband was specifically looking forward to it as a time to decompress and reconnect with his wife. His wife loves golf. He doesn't golf and has no interest in it. That's been established pretty clearly over the course of their relationship. She brought her clubs on the trip. He didn't say anything about it when she packed them. Figured maybe she'd play once, whatever. On the second day, she asked if she could go out for a morning golf session. He said fine, of course. That afternoon they did things together, and it was good. Then she asked again the next day, and the day after. By the time the math was done, on a 7-day trip, she was spending 3 full days golfing, which is not a short activity. Golf takes the better part of a day when you add driving to the course, playing, and coming back. He found himself alone at the hotel for large portions of the trip, on what was supposed to be a vacation they were taking together. When he finally said something, she told him he could have come along and watched, or done his own thing in the meantime. He said that wasn't the point. He didn't come on a couple's vacation to do his own thing. He came to spend time with her. She said she needed to unwind her way, and golf was her way of doing that. She said he was making her feel guilty for doing something she loves. Was he wrong for being upset? No. 1 round of golf on a vacation is a totally reasonable thing. 3 out of 7 days is a different conversation entirely. Come watch and do your own thing are answers to one afternoon. They're not a response to what amounts to nearly half the trip. I fully understand that people recharge differently, and that a vacation should include some of what genuinely relaxes you. Genuinely, no argument there. But a couple's vacation where your partner spends 40% of the time doing a solo activity that you have no part in isn't quite a couple's vacation. It's 2 people who happen to be in the same city at the same time, with different plans. He's not trying to control her schedule. He went on a trip with his wife and wants the trip to actually involve his wife. That's a pretty low bar. This next one is short, and I want it to stay relatively short because it says everything it needs to say pretty quickly. This woman has been hosting Christmas dinner for her husband's entire extended family every single year for 10 years. A full sit-down meal, the full house, decorations, the whole thing, and she handles basically all of it. His family shows up, eats, socializes, and leaves. Nobody helps with any of the setup beforehand, nobody helps during, nobody helps with cleanup after. Last year, she specifically asked for help with the dishes after dinner. Not the cooking, not the setup, just the dishes afterward. 2 people immediately found reasons to look at their phones. One went into the living room to watch something on television, and one person looked at her and said, with what sounds like genuine warmth but is actually a complete cop-out, "You're just so good at this, you don't even need help." This year, she told her husband she wasn't doing it. She loves the gathering, she loves the family, she loves Christmas. She just is not going to organize and execute the entire thing alone again. Her husband said his family would be disappointed, and they look forward to it every year without fail. She said, "Great, then you host it." He has not responded to that suggestion. Was she wrong for refusing? No. A decade of being the sole person responsible for a full holiday dinner for an extended family is a lot of labor that has apparently become so expected that nobody even thinks to offer anymore. The "you're so good at this, you don't need help" comment is actually the most telling moment of the whole story. It's someone reaching for a compliment to avoid doing anything. And the silence after "you host it then" is all the confirmation anyone needs. He knows how much work it is. That's exactly why he's not responding. All right, this next one has some layers. So this guy took a vacation with his girlfriend of 2 years to a beach town neither of them had visited before. He was really looking forward to it. Quality time, new destination, just the 2 of them somewhere they'd always wanted to go. On the second day at the beach, his girlfriend struck up a conversation with a group of locals who were there at the same time. Friendly people, good vibes. She asked if they could all grab dinner together that evening. He said sure, why not, sounds fun. Dinner was actually great. But then she wanted to go out with the same group the following night. Fine, he thought. Then she made plans to go surfing with them the day after. She doesn't surf, but wanted to try. They had boards. She'd go with them in the morning. He doesn't surf either and wasn't included in a real way. So he watched from the beach for a while and then went back to the hotel. By day 4 of a 7-day trip, this group of people they'd met 48 hours earlier was essentially the center of the vacation. She was texting them constantly between meetups, making plans he found out about after the fact, and genuinely seemed more energized by this new friend group than by him. When he finally said something, she said he was being antisocial, that he could have come along, and that making friends on vacation is a normal thing. He said he agreed, he liked the group, the dinner was great, but this had stopped being a couple's vacation and turned into them tagging along on someone else's trip. Was he wrong for feeling like the vacation had been taken over? No. Making friends while traveling is one of the genuinely great things about going somewhere new. Spending the majority of a couple's trip with people you met 2 days ago, to the point where your actual partner is watching from the beach and finding out about plans after they're already made, is a different situation. He wasn't asking her not to socialize. He was saying he wanted the trip to actually be their trip. That's not possessive. That's a pretty basic expectation of a vacation you plan together. Okay, this one is a bit of a wild ride, and I want to tell it carefully because there are a few layers to it. So this man had been on several dates with a woman he was genuinely excited about. Things were progressing well, the connection felt real, he was happy with how it was going. They'd been on maybe the 5th or 6th date at this point, enough for things to feel like they were heading somewhere real and not just casual. She asked if they could talk seriously about something. She told him she was a widow. Her husband had passed away about 2 years prior, and she wanted him to know before things went any further. She was a little emotional about it. He was moved, thanked her for trusting him with it, and they kept seeing each other. A few months into the relationship, a real one at this point, not just dates, a mutual friend pulled him aside with some information. The husband was not dead. He was alive. What had actually happened was a divorce, apparently a messy and painful one. And she had started telling people her husband was dead because it was easier. No difficult questions, no awkward conversations, no judgment. Just a clean explanation that people accepted and moved on from. He ended things as soon as he found out. He explained why, said he was sorry, but he couldn't continue. She told him she hadn't expected things to get serious, that the lie had just gotten out of hand over time, and that people genuinely treat divorced women differently than widows. The judgment, the assumptions, the questions about what went wrong. She said she'd meant to tell him the truth, but the longer it went on, the harder it got to find the moment. She's been reaching out since, asking for another chance. Was he wrong for ending it? No, and I want to be precise about this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being divorced. There's nothing wrong with not sharing your full history on the first few dates. That's completely normal. The problem isn't the divorce. The problem is that she deliberately sat down, looked him in the eye, and told him a false version of what happened, and then sustained that version for months while a real relationship formed on top of it. Her explanation that people treat divorced women differently confirms she knew exactly what she was doing when she said it. She wasn't protecting private information. She was replacing true information with false information, on purpose. He's not wrong for not being able to get past that. Next one, and I'm genuinely split on this one, which doesn't happen often. This woman's in-laws have a habit of dropping by unannounced, not once in a while, several times a week, sometimes more. They live about 15 minutes away and will just appear at the front door, usually in the evenings after work or on weekends during the day, without any message or warning ahead of time. She and her husband both work from home full-time. Their days are already blurring. The line between work mode and home mode is harder to maintain when you live and work in the same space. Some evenings, they're genuinely exhausted, and the last thing either of them wants is to suddenly need to be in hosting mode. Sometimes the house isn't in a state for visitors, not because it's a disaster, just because you don't clean up to company standard every single day when you live in your space. She says she genuinely loves them as people. She's not trying to exclude them. She just needs a small amount of warning so she can mentally and physically be ready. She asked her husband to have a conversation with his parents, gently, privately, and just asked them to send a quick text before heading over. Not to schedule appointments, not to set visiting hours. Just a message that says, "We're thinking of stopping by. Is now okay?" That's it. Her husband's response was that they're family, and family doesn't need to ask permission to visit. He said his parents would be deeply insulted by the implication that they weren't welcome to just come over. Without fully running it by her first, her husband apparently said something to his parents about the situation. They found out she'd raised it and were hurt. They said she was treating them like strangers. They said in their culture, the open-door policy isn't an intrusion, it's a form of love. Showing up unannounced is how you show someone they matter to you. Setting a requirement to call first makes them feel like guests rather than family. Was she wrong for wanting a heads up? This is the one I keep going back and forth on. Her request is so small and so reasonable by most frameworks I know. A 2-minute text before arriving is not a big ask. But what the in-laws are saying is also genuinely true. In a lot of families and cultures, the open-door policy isn't rudeness, it's intimacy. It's closeness expressed through presence. The real issue I keep landing on is that she and her husband are not aligned on what the baseline should be for their own home. He should have been working through that with her privately before anything got said to his parents. That's the conversation that needed to happen first, and it didn't. Last one. This one got me. So this woman has a best friend she's known for 15 years. The friend has been in a relationship with a guy for about 2 years. By the poster's account, and she says she's tried hard to be objective about this, the boyfriend is consistently dismissive of her friend in public situations. He puts her down in front of people, makes her feel small, prioritizes himself in ways that leave her visibly affected. The poster has watched this play out for 2 full years. She's brought it up gently a couple of times, as carefully as she could. The friend defends him every time, says it's complicated, says he has his good sides, says the poster doesn't see the full picture. The poster has backed off because that's what you do when someone isn't ready to hear something. Then, one night, around midnight, the friend called her crying. The boyfriend had said something genuinely cruel during an argument. Not just thoughtless in the heat of the moment, but deliberately hurtful in a way that you could tell had really landed. The poster answered immediately, stayed on the phone for over an hour, listened to everything without judgment, cried with her a little, helped her through it. The next morning, the friend was back with him. Photos together, everything fine, normal posting. Within 24 hours, it had completely reset. The next time the poster saw her in person, she said what she'd been holding in for a while. She said it carefully, and she said it from love. She said, "I'm always going to be your friend, and that's not changing. But I can't keep being the person you call at midnight when he hurts you, and then watch you go right back the next morning. I'll always pick up the phone, but this specific cycle is hurting me too, and I need you to know that." The friend's response was that the poster was abandoning her at the exact moment she needed her most. That she was being judgmental about choices that weren't hers to judge. That a real friend would just be there without conditions. Was the poster wrong for saying that? No. And I want to address the without conditions thing directly, because I've heard it before. Support is not a blank obligation. Being there for someone doesn't mean silently absorbing pain alongside them on a loop, with no ability to name what's happening. She didn't tell the friend to leave the relationship. She didn't issue an ultimatum. She didn't say, "I won't be your friend anymore." She said, "This is hurting me too," which is honest, and which any genuine friendship can hold space for. 15 years means she's earned the right to be real. The friend can make whatever choices she makes about her relationship. The poster can also be honest about what she can keep doing. Those two things are both true and can exist at the same time. One more before we wrap up. So this person works in an open-plan office, cubicle style. Everyone is in close proximity to everyone else all day. There's a coworker who sits 2 desks away who microwaves fish for lunch. Not on a Friday as a one-time thing, every single day. The smell fills the area and lingers for a while afterward. The poster tried various coping strategies. Eating their own lunch at their desk and enduring it, going for a walk right at noon and hoping it had cleared by the time they came back, mentioning it casually to other colleagues, who all agreed it was pretty rough, but nobody wanted to be the one to say something. At one point, the poster tried a light comment in the coworker's direction, something like, "Fish again today, huh?" And the coworker said enthusiastically, "Yeah, love it." And that was the end of that conversation. After roughly 3 months of daily fish lunches, the poster sent an anonymous note to HR, asking if there was any office policy around strong-smelling foods in shared workspaces. HR sent out a general communication to the whole office, reminding everyone to be considerate of others with strong-smelling food. The coworker put 2 and 2 together almost immediately, figured out it was probably the poster, and has been cold and barely speaking to them since. Some other coworkers have said the poster should have either dealt with it or talked to the coworker again directly before going to HR over something like lunch. Was the poster wrong for going to HR after one direct conversation hadn't worked? I don't think so. They did try, once, casually, and the coworker didn't register it as an actual request to change. Going to HR and asking if there's an existing policy isn't an aggressive escalation. They didn't name anyone, didn't demand action, didn't complain formally. They asked a question. The fact that a general reminder was sent out and the coworker correctly identified themselves as the likely subject of it is not really the poster's fault. If you're microwaving fish every day in an open office, there was probably always going to be a conversation about it at some point. All right, that's everything for today. 10 stories, a parrot, a ghost husband, some golf drama, and a fish that started a workplace Cold War. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed. More coming soon. See you next time.